Aloha, my friends and family. My name's Trey, and I'm so pleased to be back here again in Western Slope, Colorado with you for a little talk called Getting Free from Myopic, Toxic Gaslighting. Getting free from myopic gaslighting. Is that a possibility? For some of you, I'm not sure. Because it goes so deep into the subconscious. I have tremendous lifelong experience with this topic. As you awaken to the fact of your nearly infinite potential, you grow more and more and more aware of how and why you have been pushed into the corner of a box, psychologically and physically as a child, and a corner of your mind now. No matter what your circumstance, you discover this entire second Bardo hell realm of inversions and anti-verse, loose sucking operations, and soon into your research, you'll note the essentiality of the programmed myopia. In other words, if you really go down the rabbit hole of the truth, you'll discover why most people are like this. When you think about it, it's very, very important to the sick controllers to gaslight folks like me and everyone with a lick of awareness or expanded consciousness, or especially if they want to share it. Especially if they're on a mission to share it. The myriad, multivarious ways we are all kept small, weak, and alone. And how they are all lies. Coercions. Fake informed consent. Fear-based psychological terrorism. And systematic tyrannical narcissism. That's what you have to look forward to if you just don't do what you're told. All designed to operate within our false self. That ridiculous stream of derogatory thoughts into the subconscious mind that are not the real spirit, not the real you. Able to cause massive wins because they can pump millions of dollars of chemicals into it. It's not real, you see? It's just that dominatrix false self coming back for another weather weapon attack. You see, That false self, the ridiculous stream of derogatory thoughts in the subconscious that are not the real spirit, the wetiko, telling you you are bad, worthless, literal, miserable, guilty. You should do nothing. Die alone or control, harass, and tyrannize others. Control the matrix and be a tyrant. Be a vampire. Be an energy vampire of any sort. That's what you must do to survive. As we've said, the warden, the liar gods, and the prisoner and rescuer, the cage and the key to it all, are all in your mind. In my mind, it's all there. Unless the individual does their personal shadow work and has the discernment to put their hand over the fucking computer when a wind, artificial wind, is about to destroy or make it fall over and ruin your transmission. Just simple steps. But it takes the intuitive, simple steps. So, you see, until we figure out how to, in my opinion, it might take getting rid of the moon, or give whoever drug the moon over here the ultimatum, you get it out of here, or we're gonna blow it up, or whatever, and just get rid of it. Get rid of all this tyranny that's in beaming in, whether it's geoengineering, archonic deceptions of all sorts. So, that's why this has to be occurring in this manner. Life is for survival, wage or tax slavery, beta males and alpha dog inversions. To the narcissist, well, maybe I'm being masochistic by putting this computer under the tarp, but it is about 100 degrees here right now, so the computer kind of needs it. So it makes sense to people to exist just to pay the rent or the mortgage or the property tax, to be a box slave. To the narcissist junior god, you must be below them. No matter what kind of narcissist they are, if they're medium or even low, or especially high on the scale, or psychopathic, you must be below them. It's very important. Very important that you're little and below them. If you remain in a relationship with them, you got to be little. That's what matters. So that, if you're big, it intimidates them. If you succeed, if you achieve your goals and do what you want to do and become abundant, they're terrified. Because they've got to be more abundant than you, and then reach their hand down and help you out if they're a hero narc. You got to be below them, no matter what kind of narc they are. If they're a narcissist, you got to be below them. That's one red flag. That's one way you know. So, there is nothing we can do about geoengineering. I must remain sexually alone. The only valuable humans are good slaves, tyrants, and people that generate a lot of money for the machine beast. And it is essential, and misery is essential for all of us. Misery. That's what matters. To the archon, to the false self, to the fake god, to the narcissist, to the wetiko, the inverted one, who thinks they run the world. The list of ancient, devastating, trauma-bonded, Stockholm syndromed, loose-centric thoughts go on and on and on. So long as we still think that there are thoughts in the aggregate, in the numbers, in the majority of humans, as long as the majority of humans obey or watch and obey the mainstream media, the fake healers that say that all those thoughts are yours, you created them. From the slave masters to the borderline, people with borderline personality disorders, we all have to toe the line of BS one way or the other. Put your heads down. Don't speak out and toe the line. Death and taxes. Take care of the box. Death and taxes. Control the masses. And as long as that's the truth, then things ain't gonna change. Because that's the number one way that the big boys fund all their endless wars, the war machines and all that, is through the mortgages, it turns out. Gypsies, on the other hand, the dissidents, truth tellers and outliers, all must be rounded up, unalived, ostracized, or atomized. CR9 nice PC boy man. Kept in mental cages similar to normies if possible. In a state of permanent suffering, anxiety, and depression, if at all possible. Too harmed by the endless, rampant, trauma-based mind control of every sort. Trauma-based mind control of every variant imaginable, from the most subtle to the most obscenely violent and boundary crossing and destroying. Too harmed by the endless, rampant, trauma-based mind control of every sort to ever get back to community. Sound familiar? Too scared of every other soul fragment. Too scared to even communicate. Anika says evil is self-hate. At its core root, it hates itself. All the darkness, all the evil is caused by self-hate. I thought that was true, probably true. They need you to feel like you are trash. This is why the endless stream of derogatory thoughts in every sensitive person's head, because you're the great battery. The empath is the battery for the beast, the machine beast, the matrix. The NPCs only give it a smaller amount of energy, a certain amount, but it's not the same. It doesn't give it the true power. What will you allow yourself to think of except about yourself? Well, that was a nice thought I wrote down right there, huh? What do you think? What will you allow yourself to think of except about yourself? That's a pretty good thought, huh? What do you think? How about a comment? If you won't stay small, quiet, and take their abuse, you just cannot exist in a narcissist family system or a narcissist world, capitalist system. Gaslighting is the glue for a wounded, traumatized, awakening soul to stay small, disconnected, lonely, controlled, and sick, without the massive false reality construct of the soul trapped up in the myopic gaslight. Many soul travelers, as Anika calls them, would have been able to discern the truth and have become far freer and served a lot more awakening. And so, of course, if you don't know, it was the word of the year like a decade ago. Gaslighting comes from a movie of the same name where this wealthy woman was made to feel crazy by her husband to try to steal her things, whatever. But he was a very advanced con artist who convinced her that her reality was much more tiny than it really was. And that's why I use the word myopic in the title of this video as well, because that's what gaslighting is all about. It's with the gaslighting of the false god, the junior god, ETs that designed the Matrix is very, very well done, very extremely talentedly created to make you think you're this myopic dot. It's like I say, the Hinayana is to the Mahayana, in my opinion, from the little bit I know about that, to say that to compare a normal Christian to a Gnostic or a mystical Christian who truly wanted to learn what Yeshua or what the Christ awareness, the Christ self is really about, that it's within the one, the Holy Ghost, within all beings, etc. So it starts and ends within our minds, as I said many times. I don't want to play with the hornet. Do the inner work to disconnect from the lies. You don't have to leave me alone. See how clearly your bloodkin's obedience proves their insanity in having to squeeze, minimize, invert, box, or deny your inherent genius. Convince you were crazy because you were otherwise uncontrollable. If you didn't accept the label, the poverty, the disability, the crazy check, or just in your subconscious mind agreeing with them, it wouldn't work to belittle you. You gotta leave me alone, little girl, because you're gonna be dead if you don't. I don't play around with insects. They're trying to come up and sting me, suck my blood, because they're crazy on a hell realm planet. Okay, it's not my fault. It's obvious this is my campsite. I mean, there's no sign on it that said it's your, hornet spot. Anyway, so you have to do the inner work to disconnect from the lies. When you really realize even a little bit of how much harm we have done to ourselves and our families simply by believing the lies that we must be little egos, 3D flesh suits, this one life, battling each other constantly over the dumbest shit. The fact that Castaneda was writing the pure truth in one of his last books, when he said that the Flyers gave us their minds, they did the most horrendous, atrocious act ever known. It really is. When you think about it, something like similar to that is what he said. And when you think about it, it's true, because to implant the Archon's filthy garbage into our own subconscious was one of the most amazingly stupendous and evil black magic tricks ever. Yeah. And when you think about how deeply and terribly we harm people just because they're a different body, mind, or color, or they think differently, they have a different belief or be truth, a different IQ level, a focus of speciality, orientation, tradition, or lineage, different life experiences from all different places in the world that made them different ways and hardened or softened them in all these different ways. You'll finally see how stupid the gods of the Matrix really are when it comes to respectful creatorship. Imagine, like, I didn't write this down, but it's cool that I remembered it now. Imagine if you were a farmer, well, say somebody with the initials BG just bought the largest amount of farmland in the USA several years ago, right? And so it's all going to be GMO. So it's very similar. Okay, so imagine you think of yourself, or it's actually not similar. It's it's part of the same situation, if you will, in different layers. So you're the junior god. You're creating a farm, but you don't want the animals to be too smart, too healthy, because when you did that, they really grew out of hand, and you had to flood and do several floods to get them down, to get the numbers down. And so now that the experiment and all these fires and you're getting the numbers down really good, so yeah, so they cannot do anything moral or respectful. They can only siphon, suck, take, coerce, terrify, judge, separate, make wars, kill and steal and take the energy, and technological distractions, diversions, create housing for nobody, while the afflicted, addicted, impoverished, homeless, houseless, and disabled in a massively wealthy country, if they refuse to exist in basically a concentration work or FEMA camps, they must die on the streets until they make that illegal everywhere in a slavery-based system. Those who are adamantly free and not independently wealthy or born with a silver spoon must be ignored or forced to go back to their country now. Hated or harassed. All of the hard work done to free yourself and others is meaningless to a vampire system. Slavery is the highest virtue, next to bloody conquest and maintenance of soul-sucking tyranny. Don't you know? There's a reason why that is not my apartment over there in the next town that I'm about to go upload this video in. There's a reason why there are lots of these empty brand new apartments in Glenwood Springs. And that reason is, of course, because a small bedroom, one bedroom or studio apartment, it's renting for nearly around up to $4,000. And people who have that much monthly rent to spend, well, first they'll look for one of these fat houses, shit, you jerks. And don't you see that this is what the invisible hand tells people to do. This is what the thought of Mammon is. The god that doesn't have a head. As I've often pointed out, the normies, NPCs, and narcissists can and will never admit, and worse, never accept or forgive me for pointing out the obvious elephant in the room. The fact that the emperor truly wears no clothes psychologically. It's very, very much like that story. The 1% robber barons have had a lot of very powerful dark ET help. Oh no, I can't say that. Delete. The invisible hand of the market is a corporate thug with no respect for human life. What is in that white glove? Nothing. The white glove of the invisible hand of the man. Well, there's nothing in it because it has no soul, no essence. It's mammon. It's filled with paper dollars. It's the headless god of money, the soulless creator of the matrix, the demiurge, the demiurgos. White gloves filled with fists of money, fisticuffs punching us all to try and eliminate, obfuscate, destroy, and prevent community. So we can't have that. You got to stay over there. That's right. Be afraid of me. Stay over there. Be afraid of me. Stay wherever the flunk you are. Stay Stay away, because Gnostic communities get burned. That's right. That's what the man wants. Don't make any comments, because if you do, they will delete them if you don't make them nice on YouTube and maybe even Rumble. I don't know. Maybe you could say your piece on odyssey.com, on my channel there. So they want to destroy and prevent community cohesion and togetherness at all costs, literally. Gaslighting into littleness is the crazy, normal human condition. It's truly crazy. The normal human these days. The reality is today we have to share this beautiful and uglified realm, this place they call Earth or planet, whatever it's called, Gaia, Earth, I don't know what it's called. This beautiful sphere we're on, or whatever it is, this place we live, this thing I'm patting right now is lovely, physically beautiful. I like the country parts of it. The reality is today we have to share this beautiful and uglified realm with families, familiars, and strangers. Not that we have to fight. It's going to take a lot of spiritual discipline and shadow work to learn, to practice what I preach, for everyone to practice this. Not that we have to fight, dominate, and kill each other over it. That's the false self's fake reality. The idea that you need to fight me for any reason, that is the false self. False self-thoughts and soulless versions of capitalism, Hegelian dialectics, guilt and fear-based dogma, miasmas, cognitive dissonance, religions, governments, weather weapon attacks, sicknesses, narcissistic families they all insist that we are all alone. Small, tiny dots. Our stupid little me's, our egos. Adamantly. All 3D beings. That's right, they have to try to disrupt this video and mess it up because it might be good. It might help people. That's not allowed in the little myopic world that they're in. The people that would be willing to destroy, the planet Earth with weather weapons. They're all adamantly 3D beings, NPCs, and muggles will refuse to see these horrors that we talk about in these videos that they uphold in perpetuity. Of course they won't. That would be way too painful. Simply by obedience to the violence of the clown show, of the clown shit show laughingly referred to as official reality, constantly causing loose strips and waterfalls of massive Ouroboros loops back, the snake eating its own tail, looping back, woke in the past of Lucifer 4's lonely little me myopic dot-based inversion, slave cult, which is only insane. Okay? Realizing you are not that one dot is the first step, obviously, to getting real with your spirit. I mean, you're not that dumb. Within us is who in us is scared of change? What is it within me that's afraid of changes I need to make? Who is afraid in you? What is afraid of your true healing? Wholeness, expansion, and awareness. Well, when you think about it, it's only the false self's fake, the archons need to destroy you by making you a loose strip. You are not that, you are more than your ego. It usually takes us a lot of shadow work in the beginning. Breaking the trauma tie takes a whole lot of shadow work for years for most of us to break the trauma bond to our abusers. Realize you don't want to interact with narcissists who must gaslight you. You got to minimize your interaction with them, or they're going to try to psychologically torture you, verbally abuse you every time. Discover your fear. Discover if your fear is actually protecting you. From harm. Or protecting you from harm and simultaneously perpetuating it. Because, there's some truth to the idea that if you're afraid of something, you will attract it. However, when it comes to narcissistic abuse, it might be a healthy thing to realize that if you're afraid to spend too much time with them, it might be obviously protecting you from the fucking abuse. Okay? So, keeping that in mind, you never make a decision based in fear, or it will be wrong. Recognize how all addictions, fears, and compulsions, and it might keep you safe for a minute, but in the long time it could destroy you. And how the unexpected mind keep us stuck in these sick loops. This is the major, big, huge part of the inner work, folks. It's really obviously a huge part of it. Especially in the heat of the moment, if you can catch yourself when you're getting upset, saying these archons are beaming these stupid streams of derogatory thoughts of judgment, fear, judgment, hate, wrath, judgment, fear, littleness, pity, self-pity, judgment, hatred, littleness, narcissism, victimhood, beaming in. And just recognize it's a fucking bullshit shit show of the Radio 666. It's not your real thoughts. Usually takes a lot of shadow work to get through with this. Realize you don't want to interact with narcissists who must gaslight you. It's so bad for your mental health. Discover if your fear is actually protecting you from harm, or that and simultaneously perpetuating it. Recognize how all addictions, fears, and compulsions, and how the unexamined mind, really, it's how you're going to remain stuck. Since I said all that twice, I don't regret it. I feel like it was fairly worth saying twice. We've been coerced, bribed, and highly invested in archonic self-punishing behavior of all stripes to keep ourselves small, psychologically small. That's really important to our masters, to our fucking slave master gardeners, loose farmers. If you know who you are, you don't need tyrants. What need do you have for a tyrant if you know who you really are? Realize you don't have to go back into the past abuse, but you must learn to not react in your old habitual responses in the moment. And if you have to be around these people, again, you have to learn to set boundaries. Learning to constantly question all thoughts and assumptions. Set boundaries in your subconscious too. Say, you know what? When I hear the violence or derogatory streams of loud negative thoughts, I'm going to cut it off and not identify it as me and set a boundary. Tell yourself, this is not me. If it's evil, it's an evil stream of loud evil thoughts, just say, you know what? It's not me, because it's not. Okay? It's the human condition. Learn to constantly question all thoughts and assumptions. Begin to realize how unfathomably powerful and creative you are. How habits, narcissists, and places can keep you stuck in a rut. And stop gaslighting yourself by seeing the bigger picture. You know? Take a look at the bigger picture. Take 5 minutes and look at the big picture, rejecting your collapsed state by the difficult work of continually expanding beyond that mental cage. If you can only cognitize a fraction of the unnecessary suffering programmed by the architects of the Matrix to harvest tons of suffering, a little of the energy stolen. If you could just think of a little tiny bit of the energy that they steal constantly through the deceptions within our own thoughts, our dogmas, our judgments, our fears, our contracts. It is natural to want to quit. You know, when you first get the red pill, when you really first start to awaken, it's natural to want to drop out, quit, renunciate, become a renunciate and hide, become a hermit. Sooner or later, however, you realize only you can transform your mind's hologram. Only you can do the painful work, the sometimes excruciating, terrifying, painful work. To say no. I will not identify with the need for this false suffering, loose extraction. I am a potentially vast and powerful creator being having an experience in this flesh suit. The demiurge, archons, and the matrix are really the crazy and the forcibly small ones. If you enjoyed this and you haven't already, make sure to subscribe or follow me on Odyssey or Rumble if you want to hear more on the dark side of what's happening. And of course, as always, my friends and family, it's beautiful here in the highest mountains of USA. And if you have the courage, create a great one, my family.